Oh, what is this? Turbo Droid. I don't know what that shit is. My old phone was I had an Edge, and I dared to have it slip onto nice carpet, plush carpet, and it was dead. I'm like, screw this. This sucker's got Gorilla Glass. I've dropped that thing so many times, and not a scratch on it. I love this thing. So, if you ever get a new phone, look for Gorilla Glass. Not got. I think it's a Turbo Max, whatever the hell.
You haven't discovered it yet.
All right, guys. Let's say, just to make this easy on me, let's say from here to there, I'm going to tear this down and replace it with 5 panels of whiteboard, right? Why? I don't know. Just because I'm bored and I got whiteboard. So I want to use 5 exactly because 5 is very important to me. You wouldn't? Why not? I was going to make it religious somehow, but no. In my religion, 5? No, it's good. For some reason, I want to use 5. It's important to me. I want to use 5 panels of whiteboard. You with me? This is roughly, let's just say, 14 feet. Okay? I don't know. I didn't bring my measuring tape. So how wide would each whiteboard panel have to be? Yeah. Right. And let's say that the person I'm getting it from will only do it in whole number values. Right? And I want to be able to cover this whole thing. I really want this to make complete physical sense. Everybody with me? I'm going to have a whiteboard panel here and a whiteboard panel here, but I want to use 5 of them, and they have to go from here, and they can go further than here. They just have to go at least to here, if not more. So they can cover the whole range, right? How wide would each whiteboard have to be? Well, how far do they have to cover? What did we just say? 14, right? Divided by 5, because I want to. If I do 14 and I cut it up into 5 parts, it would tell me how wide each part has to be. Does that make physical sense? Now that comes out to be 2.8. Divided by 5 is easy. You double the top, double the bottom, and move the decimal back 1 because you're divided by 10 then, or you just put it in your freaking calculator. You get 2.8. You always round this up. The reason you round it up is if I didn't, I couldn't cover the whole thing. I would be short. If I rounded down or something. Even if I got 2.1, you round it up to 3. Because it's better to over-cover than it is to under. I want to make sure that everybody's covered. So now let's bring this discussion of freaking panels on here to numbers, to statistics, right? So if I had a set of data that went from 10 up to 82, right? So I got to cover from 10 to 82. So you can think ahead. I want to make a picture that looks like this. Remember we talked a little bit about that? And it's got to go from 10 to 82. So how far is it that I have to cover? Like if this was 14, how far do I have to cover here? 72. High minus low. That's officially called the range. The range is high minus low. So that's exactly like the 14. Is the how far do you have to go divided by how many things are you going to use. So in this case, let's say I want to use 5 classes. So it would be the width of each class, how wide each class would be, is how far I've got to go, the range, which in this case is, where do you go, 72. divided by how many classes I want to use. That would then tell me how much of that each class has to get. So I get 72 divided by 5 is 14.4. So then I would round that to, thank God, 15. Now some of you guys are like, I round to 14. Remember, if you didn't get 14, are they all going to be big enough to cover the whole range? No. Will every data point have a place to go? No. The ones at the end are going to be left out. Too bad for you. So I'm going to round this up to 15.
So every time you like 14.4,
14.07, 14.9, you round it up. Always up. To make sure that you're going far enough to capture everybody. That's a really good way to look at it. You're trying to capture all the data. So if you round down at any point, you're leaving some out. You haven't caught them. They just go off, right? I like it. So in this case, now here's where things get really nifty. So what's the lowest data point in my example here? 10. So my first class, I'm not going to put this number here yet. If they have to be 15, if the width is 15, where should the next class start? If they have to be 15 wide, the next class should start at 25. Think about it. Right? If they have to be 15 wide, the next class should start at 25. Is my hair freaky enough yet? So, but why don't I put 25 here? Because then where the hell would 25 go? Now let me tell you right here. This is the textbook way of doing this. This is how the textbook shows you. I personally don't like it. I just wish a book would show it the way that I was taught. I will show you the way I was taught. The reason I don't show that way first is because it's not the way the book shows it. You don't have that backup. And people tend to hate that it includes X and some inequality symbols. People just kind of shy away from that, which makes me a little sad, but it's okay. I'll make it. But this is the problem. Now you can just go by 15. So now it would be 15 up from here is 39. 15 up from there is 40. Or no, 15 up from there is 65. So what's 60? 55. So what's going to be here? 54. 59. Did I go far enough yet? No. 70 up to, and that's catches everybody, doesn't it? 82 has a home. You see what I mean? So now you can do that frequency thing like we did earlier today. You would have the whole list today. You put here frequency. You would put how many things are in this class. How many things are in this class? Say again. Okay, you ready? This way really, really sucks. Because, what did I say about histograms? They are not allowed to have gaps. So if you went 10 to 24, 25, there's going to be a gap from 24 to 25. Are you guys understanding?
Yeah.
All right. So, these are the class limits. Like, this is the limit of me. This is where Jeff stops, right? Jeff stops here. And then the next point, that's air around Jeff. So that's Jeff's limit. And then I have boundaries that if you step in that, there's either something happening or I love you or something, right? You're in my grip, you're up in my grip, you're in my boundaries. What the shit? You with me? Now, there's a purpose to this. You're all like, he's off his meds. Yeah. So these are the limits of the class. In order to make the thing have no gaps, I then have to say, oh, this class really starts at 9.5 and this class really goes to 24.5. The boundary, the limit of Jeff, the boundary, right? You step inside this boundary, I better know you really well, right? Does that make sense? If I turn around, you're here, I'm like, this is really not good, right? Mr. Wall, I have a question. Now, what's it? So where's this class going to start? 24.5. See how there's no gap. This stops at 24.5. This starts at 24.5.
Wouldn't that give the same result if we were to go 10 to 25, the same number?
But then where would 25 go?
And where's 24?
Ah, so if your data has decimals in it, you'd have to even break this down further, which makes this method even worse. I'm trying to convert you guys over, but I'm going to let you choose which way you want to go. So if my data had decimals in it, I have to go to 24.05 or 24, I have to break it down even further. Okay. So the other way, so then if I did this, it would be 9.5 up to 24.5, and then keep going, just keep adding 15, because that's the width. You with me? Now, the way that the histogram was constructed on that sheet that I gave you was this way. This is the last thing I'm going to say. We're going to do this again tomorrow. Hopefully you understand that. Instead of doing this, here's the alternate way to do this. This is the way I was taught. I didn't come up with this way. The only reason I like it better is because it's better. So here's how I define the first class. And so forth. Now, is there any ambiguity about where 25 goes? Is there any ambiguity about where 24.5 goes? No. 25 does not go here because this does not include 25. The limits are the boundaries. These are people that are like always hugging everybody else. You could be right there and like, hey man, right? It's not quite me. I'm a little bit more like, what? I don't know if is that a bad analogy? I don't care. I like it. Do you guys see how this really means the same thing? But now when I go to make this, when I make my histogram, now I can use nice whole numbers. But you can't set it up like this and then set this up like this. No. You pick one way, and you have to use the limits and the boundaries, or you pick the other way, in which case the limits and the boundaries are the same.
So it looks like the one you're actually giving us with like the setting up the pockets and stuff. So rounding up to 4 is going to negate one of the endpoints. You're just going to shift it a little bit.
Okay, you ready? This doesn't have to be the first. It can be the first or below it. This doesn't have to be the last. It can be the last or above it.
Shift down like 2.
You don't have to.
A little bit. It's like, what I mean is like, with the example you give us, you give the 5 classes with the 4, it ends up only using 4 of the classes. If you jump it up to every 4 you go on, then on number 4.
Yeah, so if you do this one, let's see what time is that? I don't want to waste too much time.
You have 61 as a starting point like that, and we're going up by...
Yeah, what was it? 79 minus 61 divided by 5. So you divide it by 4. So this would be 61, 65, 69, 73, 77. Seems all right.
But you said we can't use 4, we have to have 5 recordings.
Yeah, instead of using
No. How many classes am I using? 5. The width can be whatever the shit. Right? My width could be 0.2. My width could be 118. The number of classes has to be 5 or up to 10, really.
Well, maybe actually putting the data, trying to get actually using all 5 classes. If you do separate by 4, then you go from 61 to 65. 61, 64, 68. Wow.
There you go. So that would be 61 to 64, 68, 72, 76, 80.
Never mind that.
Yeah, that's all right. Okay. All right. So the most important thing I wanted you to get from that was why the width formula is what it is. If you didn't get much after that, it's okay. We're going to do it again tomorrow. So right now, I'm going to take you on a real quick little field trip. Go ahead and pack everything up. Give me a minute. Let me pack up. Oh, hell yeah. And I'm not going to like you better or worse. You can pick whichever way you want to do it. Please don't forget your IDs. It's really awkward for me. Where are you? I got a phone and some IDs. That's all right.